everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Continue, please.
Okay. So, my name is Sir Rana. I am from BSIR 4th semester, and I am hosting this session organized by Daydreamers. So, Daydreamers is basically an organization initiated by the students of International Relations, and its major motto and vision is to reshape the society by positively using the talent and hard work of students. The topic for today's discussion is Pakistan in FATF causes and consequences, and basically our speaker would unveil the hidden reasons which are responsible for keeping Pakistan in grey list over and over again. Now, I would start this discussion by introducing our auspicious guest, who is Mr. Sarfaraz Ahmed Rana Sahab, who is an author, a columnist, and a lecturer at the National University of Modern Languages. And his major expertise are foreign affairs and security policy of major powers in Asia Pacific. So, I would like to. So, over to you, sir. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Right. So I'm sorry. Actually, I kept talking, and I was not aware that I'm on mute. So let's accept my apologies. So yeah. So I'm sure that some of you might already knew me, and some of you don't, because I think I'm not sure how many of you I already have talked to you at the department, but I think a couple of you I already knew you, right? So yeah, thank you for such a generous introduction, Seher. It's really good to be here with you all, the young, bright, dynamic people, right? And I think Pakistan definitely needs for such a dynamic and very bright lot. And I'm very glad to be here with all of you, right? So I welcome you all here. And the introduction, definitely, as we all knew that the course and the discourse and the subject and the topic which is already being chosen for today's discussion is going to be very interesting and also very vital for Pakistan's foreign policy and even for Pakistan's, for Pakistan's economy, right? Because Pakistan, on and off, Pakistan has been into, this FATF's grey list. So, because I'm not aware of the decorum of this very forum and how to get started with Izaz and Seher. I'm not sure that whether I have to keep speaking and keep talking, and I mean what the mod you are going to choose. I'm not totally aware, right? So you people are going to guide me.
Yes, sir, you have to keep talking, and at the end of the discussion, the students will drop their questions in the comment section, and then you will answer those questions.
Right, wonderful. So how many time we have got?
Sir, as much as you wish, as much as you want to take.
Sir,
So it's almost an hour.
Right.
You can.
Sir, we have 30 minutes for
right. An hour.
Speaking, and then
Right. So wonderful. So, yeah, I think Right. So Izaz, I understand, and Seher, I understand, totally I understand. So definitely, when this course was offered to me, so first of all, let me give you a very brief introduction, right, about this course and how this course was being offered to the department. So I was one of the first teachers who was being approached, and I was being asked that, how we are going to get along with this course, and that, whether you are going to take the responsibility of this course, or, how you are going to take. So definitely this course was very new, and I was also a fresh and junior teacher. So it was quite a daunting task for me to take the responsibility for a course which was quite new to me, right? But definitely I always love to take challenges, and definitely I decided to take challenge in this case as well, and definitely I took the responsibility and I agreed with the course coordinator. Okay, sir, don't worry, I will use every best possible thing at my own disposal, and I will definitely try to do the best. And then for the next 1 year, my home completely was turned into FATF secretariat for 1 year, for next 12 months. I went to the FATF website, and then as time goes by, so my interest developed in this very interesting course. Why? Because I realized that why Pakistan and how Pakistan was being treated, because first time Pakistan was basically grey listed in 2010 and 2011. And I apologize in anticipation if I confuse the dates, but today's agenda is basically to make certain things clear, which definitely are in our mind. So if I make some wrong, like in terms of dates, because I'm very bad at dates, remembering dates. So just I apologize in anticipation, right? So the course, as I was telling you, that as time goes by, so my interest got developed further, that this is very interesting course. And then I was very happy, for my decision and for my selection to pick this course as my semester course to teach to the students, right? So when you're a teacher, so you put more effort, and you do everything, to the best of your abilities to make your students' concepts clear. So definitely, then the first semester, then second semester, and in third semester, I think now Pakistan and FATF basically they have dropped this course from the semester. But I tell you, this course was very important and very interesting. Now let me give you first of all the brief introduction about FATF and how it works, and then definitely we can discuss in the later leg of our conversation about the Pakistan in FATF and the consequences, and of course the challenges Pakistan still facing. Definitely Pakistan still sits in the grey list, right? And definitely Pakistan has given one more period to improve those 2 points which are missing, that Pakistan is not able to touch yet. So what is FATF, right? So Pakistan and FATF, before I come to the Pakistan's part, so let me take this very very important opportunity to explain all of you, to tell you about the Pakistan and FATF relation, and then how it works, FATF. It is basically a task force, and it's not even a full-fledged organization. And it was basically launched and founded in 1989 by the European countries, by the G7 countries. And there are G7 countries, of course, these G7 countries are the most advanced and the most industrialized countries, right? Most industrialized and most, in terms of economy, most developed countries. So basically, the initial and the very earlier purpose and aim of this course was basically to combat the money laundering and the drug money laundering, because Europe was really and badly stuck by and affected by the drug money laundering, and there was a lot of flow of drugs into European community and the European continent. So basically, they all European countries and the European political and ruling elite, they got together and they basically thought this out, and they have come to the conclusion, okay, because the money is laundered through drugs and drug cartels are involved. So we need to combat this issue, and in order to combat this issue, we have to come across, or we have to sit together, and we have to create some sort of mechanism. And they have then founded in 1989 this very task force which today we are discussing in 1989, right? So I want you to keep this very important thing in mind, that this was basically the main objective was to combat the drug money laundering. Now, this task force basically, and gradually it was evolved over the period of time. In 1993-94, it basically covered the entire subject of drug money laundering. The initial mandate of this organization was very limited. As I told you, the drug money laundering, they have to basically combat the drug money laundering. Then they thought, no, not drug money laundering, we need to cover the entire discourse of the entire course of money laundering. Then gradually, we all knew that, what happened in 2001. At 2001, it was very unfortunate year when there were two planes were being hijacked and they were basically crashed into the American World Trade Center, and one basically flown over the Pentagon, and then the entire world was basically shook, and the entire world was concerned about the issue of terrorism and all that stuff. And now in 2001, then they have basically the war on terror basically became the talk of the town, and everybody basically had started talking, because the most United States, we all knew that it was considered the most safest country on the face of the planet, right? And it was hit. The foundation of American security was completely, shaken. So America and other European countries and other non-European countries and non-Western countries basically realized that, because the new menace and the new threat to the world's peace and security is basically terrorism. And we have to do everything possible in our capacities and in our capabilities to combat this very issue of terrorism. Then they have evolved and they have expanded a little further, and then they have covered this and other mandate into their domain, which was to combat the terror financing, right? So now there are two main objectives. The first objective is definitely the drug money laundering. It is started as a drug money laundering, and then they have covered the entire subject of money laundering. And then terrorism, 9/11, September 11 took place, and then it was definitely September 11 attacks. Then the mandate was revised. It was expanded a little more further, and they have covered the entire subject of terror financing. And in 2008, there were certain signs of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, WMDs, right? The student of political science and the students of I are right now here in our today's this August virtual meeting, right? We all knew that, the weapons of mass destruction, the WMDs, and there are certain watchdogs, and there are certain organizations that are basically created to control this very issue, right? This very issue of weapons of mass destruction. Now, they have realized that because certain countries, for example, Libya, Iran, North Korea, and including in Pakistan, let me say it, right? Let me say it, because the Qadir Khan network, and there are, it's not a hidden secret, I'm not telling you something new, so you don't get surprised, right? So this is something which has been extensively written in the book, extensively spoken about, right? So this is not something new that you might get surprised, but definitely the Qadir Khan network. So basically, these entities are largely involved in horizontal proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Now there is a vertical proliferation and there is a horizontal proliferation, right? The vertical happens like in a V shape, and horizontal happens in an H shape. And I'm sure the students of IR must be aware of this term, and because all of you are, mashallah, dynamic and scholar, I should not be explaining about the horizontal. And if Izaz and Sir want me to explain it about the horizontal or vertical proliferation, so I don't mind explaining about this very thing. But otherwise, I'll definitely continue to explain the certain phenomena. But in 2008, because they have realized that there are certain signs since 2003. There are certain signs of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. There are some Muslim countries, including North Korea and Iran, Muammar Gaddafi, Libya, and Qadir Khan network are involved in this new cartel, right? So the West was afraid, because this is very, very vital, and this is very sensitive issues for West. I mean, proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. So they also have expanded this third mandate into their mandate, into their domain in 2008. Now there are three issues. Number one is money laundering. Now there are three mandates so far. which I just have explained. Number one is drug money laundering, money laundering, the entire subject, and then is terror financing, and then weapons, proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Now, then, this body of FATF is basically an evolving body. Why it is an evolving body? Their mandate and their legal framework cannot be fixed and cannot be fixated. Why? Because there is a reason. Because now let me explain that what is the job of FATF. The job of FATF is basically to protect the integrity of global financial system. Global financial system. Now, what is the global financial system? I mean, what makes the global financial system, right? It is IMF, World Bank, WTO, right? There are many other global organizations. We call it Bretton Woods system, and I'm sure some of you must have read about and must have heard about this Bretton Woods system, right? So the Bretton Woods system is basically a global financial system, and the global financial system is basically controlled by the Western powers, and mainly the US, United States power, and mainly the most advanced industrial powers, basically, right? Those G20 countries or G7 countries. Yeah, somebody has been texting here in chat bar. What's really wrong? Is us, sir? Somebody wants to say something probably.
Yes, sir. I think he or she wants to know about horizontal and vertical proliferation of mass destruction. So can you please elaborate it a bit?
Right.
Sir, I will tell them in chat box. Please continue your lecture. Sir, I will tell them in chat box about vertical and horizontal proliferation. Please continue your lecture.
Right. Okay. No problem. Just briefly explain it to them. Okay. Don't mind, because now I have been interrupted, so no problem. So basically, vertical proliferation is something that if Pakistan has been increasing the number of nuclear weapons within a state, right? If you are increasing, or if you are increasing the number of nuclear weapons within your state, is called a vertical weapons. So the progress is like this in the country, like V shape, this way, right? But when it comes to horizontal proliferation, so H, like the first word, H is like that, right? H is like that. So which means the proliferation is taking place from one country to another country. So that means there is a technology transfer that their country, because now there is IAEA, there is some other countries as well. There is some other mechanisms, and also there are some other organizations, right? Now you cannot transfer the nuclear technology illegally from one country to another country, right? Globally, it is considered as a global crime, right? Because there are many organizations are basically created for this purpose, to prevent the global proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. And there must not be why they are preventing Iran, right? The West is basically trying their best and trying their hard to prevent all those countries, right? That Iran does not require or acquire the nuclear weapons. So basically, when nuclear technology transfer from one country to another country, right? The non-nuclear country, if nuclear technology is basically transferred from one nuclear country to another non-nuclear country, is called a horizontal proliferation. And the vertical proliferation is that if you are a non-entity country, which means if you have not signed the non-proliferation treaty, that means you can increase the number of nuclear weapons, and you can increase and improve the nuclear technology within your country. Is it clear? Was that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good. Right. So yes. So that's how it works. And I don't know. I think yes. I was basically trying to explain you about the flexibility of this very task force, or the watchdog, which we are basically discussing today, which is definitely FATF. So it is an ever-evolving body. It is an ever-evolving watchdog. It is an ever-evolving task force. when I say ever evolving, why it is ever evolving? Huh? Why? Because the purpose of this body of FATF, the watchdog, is to protect the global, the integrity of global financial system, which means, with the passage of technology, because technology has been changing so rapidly. Now you see the paper currency, the concept of paper currency is just diminishing with the passage of time. Come over, diminishing, right? With the passage of time. And the new modes of currency are replacing the concept of paper currency. For example, now I do not keep money all the time in pocket. I have credit card, MasterCard, debit card, and I'm sure some of you must have these modes. Now there is another currency, digital currency, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. So there are new concepts are introduced. Now the money laundering crime is basically a white collar job, a very sophisticated crime, right? So it is not like, it is a theft. No, it is not a theft. It is not a blue collar job that someone has to come and someone has to steal something from you. No, it is a very sophisticated and very rich elite of the global community is basically involved in this very sophisticated crime of money laundering. So they adopt to new and modern means with the passage of time. Like initially, the dollar was laundered from one country to another. Now the concept of dollar is basically outdated. Now the new modes of currencies has been replacing Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, some other many mediums, right? So they are basically replacing the dollar or the paper currency. Now this mandate, this FATF basically expanded its mandate further, right, by adding the digital currency in its domain as well. Now it covers money laundering, number one. Number two, it also covers what? It also covers the terror financing, then the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, then the digital currency. And now recently of late, they also have added the corruption thing, because they thought that the corruption which has been, which is very pervasive in other countries. In fact, it's a global phenomenon. It's not just, confined to one country or two, right? It is pervasive all over the world, and it's a global phenomenon. We all knew that. So they have added the corruption thing because they said that the corruption is also damaging the integrity of global financial system. So therefore, as a result, they have added the corruption into their domain. Now, somehow, I'm sure that I basically have given you a brief picture of the mandate, because the subject is very diverse. We definitely cannot cover the entire subject in just a one sitting of 5 hours even, right? So this is a very, very diverse subject. Now, what is that which basically deals with the country, and how they deals with the country who are basically involved in these kind of bad practices? For example, money laundering, terror financing, proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Now the question comes to the mind that this body does not have a police, does not have any law enforcement mechanism. Then how this body has become so powerful that it is squeezing countries like Pakistan. It is squeezing like other, powerful country. Pakistan is a nuclear country, right? So how they are ensuring that Pakistan remains in compliance of all those 27 points which were given to Pakistan just 3 years ago. So how? That is the point. Now, they have the legal framework, which is called as 40+9 recommendation, right? 40+9 recommendations are basically the legal framework of this body, in which everything is being discussed comprehensively, precisely. Everything. When I say everything, everything means related to all those mandate things which we just have discussed in our past minutes, in our, in just last couple of minutes. Then it has 8 groups which basically works in close collaboration with FATF. right? Basically, you can say in Urdu, वो FATF की zeli branches हैं. There is a one headquarter definitely of every organization, of every body, and there are some regional branches of every organization and every body. And regional organization, when we say, which means that वो zeli branches हैं, zeli branches, right? Now, अब ये इनका जो काम करने का तरीका है, इनका काम करने का ये तरीका है, आपको पता है कि जिस भी कंट्री में, any country basically, gets involved in these bad practices, there is a global financial system, and now the global financial system is basically modern global financial system where everything is transparent. You can't hide your problems. If any country is involved in terror financing, money laundering, right? So any country can be located. Any country can be located easily. I mean, there is not a big problem in today's modern time when technology and other means of communication are so modern and even becoming so modern. So now 40+9 recommendation, ये इनका कानून है, आप इसको उर्दू में ये कहेंगे, इनका कानून है. It is the legal framework, right? Under which basically it performs and it functions. Now, then yes, most importantly, before I move to the Pakistan's part, most importantly, Pakistan, this body basically has it has observer countries and observer organizations as well, right? First of all, let me tell you, this body has 39 members, in which there are 37 countries and 2 are the organizations. The first organization is GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council, and the other is European Commission. The other organization is European Commission. Now all the major developed modern countries, the richest countries, are basically the member of this body, including US, including China, including Japan, including France, including all the modern countries, Germany and Russia, right? All the rich countries, Saudi Arabia. So all are basically became the member of this organization. This is not organization, as I told you, it's a watchdog, it's a task force. 39 members, in which 37 are the countries, and India is also part of this this organization. And I think, if I'm not wrong, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, India is the only country from South Asia. India is the only country from all South Asian countries. There are 8 South Asian countries, right? So India is the only member country of this very watchdog, of this very task force. Now, if you allow me to proceed further, if you understood the basic structure, that how it works. No, let me explain one more point, which I'm just again and again forgetting. That there are observer countries in this body and in this organization, in this watchdog, including, now I'm just going to tell you the name of those observer organizations, so you will get to surprise. There is only one observer country, which is Indonesia, and the observer organizations include United Nations, IMF, European Bank, European Construction and Development Bank, right? And there are many other, Security Council, UN Security Council, right? And African Development Bank, Asian Development Bank, APG. I mean, remember that Asian Development Asian Development Bank is the one, which is basically funding your BRT project in Peshawar. So I'm just, because I'll definitely come to this part later, but I'm just going to remind you that what is the importance of Asian Development Bank, right? ADB. So there are many powerful organizations which are basically observer of this body, because their stakes are involved, right? The World Bank is a global financial organization. Asian Development Bank is a global financial organization. IMF, it's a global financial organization and body, right? And European Construction and Development Bank, it's definitely again a global financial body. So their stakes are involved. If there is a terror financing, so it might disturb the terror financing or proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. It might disturb the global financial working and operation at the broader scale. So that's why they are involved very actively and proactively in this body, with this body, and they are collaborating with this body. Now, whenever the findings and recommendations are conveyed to FATF, right? So FATF, by FATF, so these bodies and these global financial institutions, which I just named, including UN, IMF, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, European Bank, and there are many. So they take the FATF recommendation very, very seriously. Now, how many times FATF meets in a year? It meets thrice in a year. It meets thrice. The first time they meet in February, the second time they meet in June, and the third and the last time in a year cycle they meet in October. So they already have met in February this year 2021, and the agenda of Pakistan was on the agenda list, and Pakistan was being discussed. Pakistan was praying and hoping to get whitelisted, but definitely Pakistan's dream never came true, and Pakistan still sit in the FATF's grey list. So thrice they meet, and the highest person who is basically responsible to look after the entire FATF body is the president of FATF, right? And I think the president, the current president of he's from Germany. Yes, he's from Germany. If they have not changed, because every president comes for I think 1 to 2 years period, right? Every president. And if you ask me what is the mechanism of, definitely some of you must having this question in your mind, that what is the process and the procedure of electing the president? So there is no procedure. Lobbying works. Lobbying works. Now, one more important thing before I proceed further and cover the entire, because understanding FATF is very important. Once you understand the FATF structure, then understanding Pakistan will not be a problem. This FATF watchdog or task force is basically a technical body to ensure the 40 plus 9 recommendation to prevent and to secure the integrity of global financial system from all those crimes and the bad practices which we just mentioned and we have been discussing, and which is also the mandate of FATF. So it is a technical body. It is not a political body or economic body. Please keep this thing in mind. It is a technical body, right? A technical body who has to ensure the integrity of global financial system. It is not a political body. Now, because we are going to discuss why I mentioned this, because at a later stage of this discussion, we definitely are going to discuss about some political and geopolitical thing. That why geopolitics is basically being played in FATF. So I think much of the structure about the structure of FATF I have covered, and so far, if you people have any question regarding the structure of FATF, and if you may add, or if you want to add something to the structure of FATF, right? So you definitely are welcome to add. Otherwise, I'll definitely proceed to further that when Pakistan. And now I'm going to discuss the predicament and the journey of Pakistan into grey list, right? In and out the grey list. So I'm definitely going to discuss that part of Pakistan, right? If you have any question regarding this thing, then definitely, there is a question, right? And let me open my chat bar and let me answer your question here.
Can you please take questions at the end of the session?
I cannot see question.
Sir, can you please take questions at the end of the session?
Okay, no problem. Then let me proceed further.
Yes, sir, please. Okay, sir.
Right. I don't mind, of course, definitely. So moderator has advised me and instructed me that I have to question by the end of this discussion. So no problem, sir. I'm just proceeding further, right? So moving forward, that now when Pakistan was held in the prison of FATF, and what are the consequences, as is the title of today's discussion, that Pakistan in FATF, consequences and challenges definitely faced by Pakistan, right? This organization, I used to teach my student, is one of the most best examples of soft power. And there are certain questions which because we Pakistanis basically, we are believer of conspiracy theories. And if there is a shop in Pakistan, in Islamabad, who sells conspiracy theories, he would have a very good business. And I'm even planning to, open a shop where I sell conspiracy theories, right? So people basically believe that Pakistan is being victimized. That Pakistan was being, because India is very good at lobbying. So basically it was India who is basically keep putting Pakistan into grey list. And basically, Indian lobby has been working. I do agree India is very good at lobbying. So it is not only India who is running this the global political and economic system of the world. No, it is not India. India is a fraction of power, not even a fraction of power in the global political system, right? So the global political system basically does not work this way. Now, in first time Pakistan came in the press release of FATF that Pakistan is basically involved in some terror financing things. And let me tell you one thing, that their main concern towards Pakistan is the terror financing. Definitely there is a drug money laundering, but there are other issues, but mainly the West and this body basically they are concerned with. So they are concerned with the terror financing, which they think that Pakistan is involved with. So the first time Pakistan appeared in their press release in 2008, in which Pakistan was named and Pakistan was shamed. That Pakistan is basically involved in some sort of, and yes, this is how they work. How they ensure, they do not have any police. FATF does not have any police to implement their policies. FATF does not have any law enforcement, bodies to go and to enforce forcefully to their policy recommendations, are their policy points, right? Are their plan of action. Definitely they have the plan of action. They help prepare any country, the particular plan of action, and they ask that plan of country to execute that plan of action now. But they do not have police. Now how they ensure the policy making and their plan of action? So they basically name and shame that particular country at a global level. And naming and shaming any country has the consequences to bear with. So you have to bear the brunt. You do a mistake, then you have to pay the price in global system, be it economic system. So 2008, Pakistan appeared in their press briefings that Pakistan, we found Pakistan, into some sort of bad practices, and definitely they mean basically Pakistan is involved in terror financing. Now keep one thing in mind that September 11 attacks are already there. War on terror is already there. And if you remember, all of you, 2008, the terrorism attacks and the war on terror in Pakistan basically took a very fast flight in Pakistan since 2004, and 2010 they have reached their zenith, the highest point. Every day in every newspaper there were 2, 3, 4, 5 blasts, explosions. They were common news. It was a new common in Pakistan, a new normal. We call it new normal. And whenever we friends sit together and we try to discuss about how many people are killed, okay, 250, only 250 people. because we were told every day 500 people Pakistanis are being killed in terrorist attack. There. So that was basically the situation. Yeah, I'll be coming to this point. I mean, somebody has written again a question, definitely, because moderator has instructed us to take up the question one by one. So it will be better, I mean, if you write questions by the end of, because I get deviated easily, right? So it will be better if you write the questions. Definitely, I'll be taking up your questions, right? So I was actually trying to, paint you the brief picture of Pakistan in 2008 when Pakistan was first appeared in the press briefing, and then in 2010 and 11, I again apologize if I'm trying to, forget the dates, right? So around that time, Pakistan was first time, but it was People's Party government, right? It was People's Party's government when Pakistan first time was held in FATF's prison of grey list. So Pakistan got grey listed for the first time in the FATF history in 2008 or 11, around that time. And then their team of experts arrived to Pakistan. They asked Pakistan and Pakistani competent authorities and relevant institutions to work with the board. An evaluation report was prepared in a certain period, and then a plan of action that where Pakistan lacks. Whether Pakistan has the enough legislation, Pakistan does not have the legislation. I mean, these were the things and the technical points which were being discussed, and then final plan of action was given to Pakistan. In return, Pakistan has given a political commitment to FATF that definitely we are going to address with all those points. And then within a period of more than 1 year, 1.5 years, Pakistan put a hard efforts, and Pakistan done a very good job, right? And Pakistan was then removed from their grey list. Then Pakistan again was put in the grey list in 2018. It was a very important period. Pakistan definitely was in 2018. Pakistan was held in the grey list, and it was a very crucial time in so many ways. For example, geopolitically, financially, economically, and internally. Of course, there were some internal factors and there were some external factors. Now let me tell you internal factors. Pakistan's economy was at the brink, right? Pakistan was about to bankrupt. Why? Because we do not have the sufficient, those foreign exchange reserves. We had at the lowest level of $8 billion, and we required $12 billion to keep it going, right? If you have, I mean, that is a particular threshold. If you do not have that much of foreign exchange reserves, then countries and global organizations will stop trading with you. They will not, the global organization will stop funding you. That sort of economic punishments, they will basically extend towards you. These are internal factors, and definitely there were new elections, there was a new government. Pakistani society, another important factor which I want you to understand, and definitely because that is a recent thing, and you just have to use your recent memory. You don't have to use your the oldest memory, but the recent memory. There was a new wave of radicalization in form of, I'm sorry if I heard the cultural and religious sentiments of few. There was another faction emerged in 2017 named Tehreek-e-Labbaik-e-Pakistan, TLP. So extremism again was on the upward trajectory in Pakistan. So that was another point. The third and fourth point, politically, religiously, culturally, Pakistani society was polarized and divided. So these were the internal factors, and you definitely can add more. Now, external factor. Pakistan was approaching the IMF package because Pakistan does not have the enough money. At that time, Pakistan did not have the enough money, and Pakistan does not even have the enough money now, right? We knew the current economic league of Pakistan. We knew the recent rate of inflation. महंगाई की शरह क्या है, जिसे आप शरह नमू कहते हैं पाकिस्तान के, ठीक है? उसके बाद what is the economic growth in Pakistan? It is for the first time in the economic history of Pakistan that we have gone minus now. And these are the internal, external factors that we were approaching the IMF. I think it was the 13th package, if I'm wrong, please correct me. It was probably the 13th package. Now, there was another very important factor that of course, the new government, external factor on foreign policy, there was a very aggressive and hostile government won the election in your neighboring country across the line of control. Under Modi, I mean, they were very aggressive and they kept attacking Pakistan, right? And there was not even a single day passed on, right? Am I audible? I think I lost my connection. Am I audible?
No, sir, you're audible. Yes, sir, you're audible.
Right. So yes, I was talking about the external factor, right? And the Indian the last thing I was talking about the Indian factor, right? So am I right? You listen to this.
Yes, sir, you were talking about
the Indian factor.
Yes, sir.
Modi, yes. So there was another factor that Pakistan was being squeezed from two fronts. Western border, of course. I think my battery is running short and draining. Let me turn the switch on. Yes. So we were basically talking about the Indian factor, right? So definitely India was very active, and India was basically proactively using its global influence to keep Pakistan in the grey list. Even India was trying to put Pakistan further in the blacklist, so Pakistani economy can completely strangulate, right? So that was the Indian objective and Indian ambition, right? So these were the external and internal factor. And one important factor I want you to know, and I want you to connect the dots then by using your own rational and cognitive abilities and your own brain and analytical skills, is that around the same time Trump came into power with an election slogan that America will withdraw all the overseas military engagements, including Afghanistan. Now, America and Trump administration especially wanted to withdraw the American troops from Afghanistan. And they knew, and they were smart, and Trump administration was really smart, that they knew that this mission is very expensive and this mission is very dangerous. And if we want to withdraw American troops safely and gracefully, then we wanted Pakistan's help. And of course, you may add many more, right? And under these internal and external dynamics, Pakistan was put in the prison of FATF, right? And Pakistan was grey listed in 2018. Now, there are students who ask me that, sir, Pakistan is being named and shamed unfairly, and, Pakistan should not be mistreated this way, and that, and this. We knew the unfortunate history of Pakistan. We all knew that the kind of role Pakistan had been playing in Afghan war, and how Pakistan has provided its space to train and to launch those extremists and terrorists all over the world. They came to Pakistan, and Pakistan became the launching. And of course, it was not our fault. Definitely, it was United States of America, and America was basically using Pakistan. Pakistan became the tool, right? Using Pakistan to basically train and then send those extremists to fight against the Soviets. So the main objective at that time was to capture the Soviet Union and to defeat them right there in Afghanistan. And Pakistan easily, downplayed, and definitely it was a military government at the time, and Pakistan basically sow the seed of extremism and violence around that time. So our history, if you just try to evaluate Pakistani society before 1979, I have read Pakistani history, I have been reading Pakistani history. So based on my objective study of the history, I'll be very, I don't lie. I do not exaggerate about the facts. I will never exaggerate about the facts. Why would I exaggerate? There is no need for me to exaggerate, right? Because I'm a teacher, I'm a lecturer, right? And teaching is a profit, this is a passion of prophets. This is a profession of prophets, right? So I think lying in this, or exaggerating, or playing with the facts is a greater crime in this profession, which is very sacred, which is very holy. So, based on my objective study of the history, I can tell you with the conviction that the Pakistani society prior to 1979 was very balanced society, very tolerant society. Every bad thing happened to Pakistani society after 1979. I mean, you may disagree. We definitely can hold the opposing views, and we definitely can dispute with each other arguments, right? But there must be some logical arguments behind your dispute, behind your disagreement, right? So that was the history of Pakistan, when basically the terror culture, the drug culture, because Pakistani borders were all open for the Afghan people, for the Afghan drug cartels to easily cross Pakistani border and enter into Pakistan. And if you just check, and if you read the book of Ahmed Rashid, he had written in 90s. I have read that book, Afghan Taliban and oil and fundamentalism in Central Asia. He had categorically mentioned about the Pakistani blunder, Pakistan made in the foreign policy blunders in Pakistan made in Afghan war. I will answer all those questions by the end, please, and I request you do not ask me the difficult question which might get me into trouble, right? So please, definitely, do not ask me a kind of very difficult question, because the question one participant which recently asked is quite very hard question for me to answer, right? So I'm a poor teacher. I'm a poor teacher at the end of the day, right? A poor teacher can answer. Yeah.
Please
after like 30 minutes.
Right. So moderator is basically is asking us to comply with the rules of this community. So definitely I have to proceed further, right? So that was the kind of culture which was basically being manufactured in Pakistani society, right? And the drug culture, the gun culture, the society was deliberately turned into a violent society. The violent extremism was at rise in Pakistan, right? We all have heard that Kalashnikov and the gun culture and drug culture, right? Otherwise, Pakistani society was very tolerant society. We were very tolerant people. I'm talking about before 1979. Pakistani society was wonderful society. But everything was done deliberately that, after the 1979 we have been discussing. And that was the period which is responsible for Pakistan's fate in FATF. That was the particular period. That period basically, yes, now I definitely will take up your question in which some of you will ask that, sir, it was United States, it was US, so why US is not blacklisted? Why? Because you're a student of IR. So IR understands the language of power and interest. There are two things in IR. There are no moral backgrounds. I mean, these are just moral questions. Sir, why not? Okay. I mean, you just don't try to be moral, okay? Because there are no moral things, exist in IR. IR is basically run by objective laws. I mean, just try to read the Hans Morgenthau's 6 principles. You will get to know that how IR is basically how IR functions basically, right? So that was the particular period, the period of 80s in which the seed of the extremism, terrorism, gun culture, drug culture, the violent culture basically soared in our Pakistani society in that particular period, right? And then this basically evolved over the period of time. Now I'm just going to talk about certain difficult thing, right? And then I will definitely end this conversation from my part, because my day started 6 o'clock earlier in the morning and I'm still talking to you, right? And that's the important thing. So I mean, state is equally responsible, unfortunately. Let me say it, that the deliberate state's policies, the blunders state of Pakistan has made, and the way sorry, I'm not getting the last question. Somebody has said, sir is professional lecturer at Department of IR, and he
Sir, it's not a question, sir, it's a request about the
professional obligations. So we are sorry for such questions. No, it's not like I cannot answer, because these are certain things. You definitely can ask me anything. I'm not asking you to raise questions. I'm definitely not asking you this. I'm very open to questions. Everybody, those who know me, they know me very openly that I'm very open to take questions, right? I don't mind, but I'm just definitely, the society is not that open and there are certain problems. And you guys will be discussing. Let me just conclude very quickly and briefly about, putting certain things and asking you certain questions, because it is not everything which I have to answer. You yourself have to, also has to answer certain questions, right? It is not me who has to be answering all these things, right? So I'm definitely going to leave certain questions for you to answer and to think, for a later period, right? So, Izaz, I had definitely discussed this thing with you. So definitely I was basically discussing about that particular period that has put Pakistan into a grey list, and Pakistan still has been suffering, and Pakistani economy is bleeding. And now Pakistani economy basically has shifted to the emergency ward, and Pakistani economy is basically taking oxygen on the oxygen cylinder, and oxygen cylinder is very expensive, which was provided by the IMF. Right? I'm not sure whether I have made this metaphor truly to describe the situation of Pakistan, but Pakistani economy is currently in internally care unit. I see you, right? So these are the policies which Pakistan has made, and the state of Pakistan, it was the state's policy to sponsor terrorists, to tame the terrorist, and they thought that by supporting terrorists and by sponsoring terrorists, maybe we might, we might, liberate clean. So they were wrong. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Right. So I was basically talking about the state's policy, the deliberate policies, and if you just try to compare those policies are mainly being made not in democratic countries. Not in democratic phase, right? Those policies are being made under non-democratic governments, right? I'm sure that I have used the most civilized word by saying the non-democratic governments, right? I'm not using any hard words. So the non-democratic governments, right? Those policies. Why? Because your foreign policy establishment and all the brains and the debate was not allowed to be, for your foreign policy to be made and for your foreign policy to take the right direction. So it was basically a one brain, two eyes, two ears, one nose, and two lips basically were involved. Order was and the order was complied without putting any further questions. Right? So would you expect a positive outcome in such a political environment in which only one brain is involved, only one lips and two eyes, one nose and two ears, and we call it one man show is involved? Then how would you think that Pakistan, who is located at a very complicated geographically, I'm talking about, at a very complicated place, that should be able to make the right policies with one man show? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir, you are.
Right. Because I see something wrong with my mesh. It is reconnecting nicely. Not connection going to reconnect. So I'm still audible? Still audible?
Yes, sir, you are
Yes,
audible.
you're audible.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah, actually, I apologize. I lost my
No
connection
problem,
and then
sir.
I just have reconnected. So, yeah, so actually, and weather is also bad, so probably just
Yes,
because of
sir.
actually bad weather, so I'll keep losing my connection. So yes, so we basically we were discussing about the factors which are responsible. Which are responsible. We were basically discussing factors objectively, right? Not subjectively or emotionally, because all are basically scholars here right now sitting, the audience, right? The august scholars and very bright and very very dynamic people here. So the discussion is definitely about the objectivity, that what are the consequences and what are the reasons and the factors which are basically responsible for putting Pakistan into a grey list. So basically, these were the factors that it was Pakistan's state policy, to blindly follow its impulses, and it mostly and mainly happened under the non-democratic governments, right? Because your foreign policy was made just behind the curtains, behind the closed doors, and nobody knew, because there was no public opinion, and of course, Parliament was not functioning, and whatever the one man show and one man said, two lips were moved, and the issue, the notification was immediately issued, and the policy was complied and implemented, and that's how we are paying the price of no one man foreign policy or one man show in Pakistan. So those were the policies, that Pakistan's state policy. And all of you, I'm sure that you must remember that what really happened in 1999, right? Why global community and international community still relies on India. I mean, okay, if you just try to look at the political landscape of India, I'm talking about pre-2014 India, not under Modi's India. I mean, India under Modi is worse than Pakistan. Pakistan is much and far better than today's India. But I'm talking about the Indian society before 2014. I mean, India was being celebrated all over the world. I mean, it's democracy, it's secularism, it's economy, it's rapid race in technology, and I mean, Bollywood, all the India was known in the international community for all the best reasons, for all the right reasons, right? And Pakistan's international the credibility and international reputation basically was tarnished just because of the blunders, and especially the foreign policy blunders Pakistan made during that particular phase. And also that grey listing is also part of those policies. That's why Pakistan is being grey listed. Now there are two reasons. I want you to be very clear. If you say whether geopolitics has any role in FATF or not, so the answer is yes. The answer is yes. The small size nations and the smaller nations, or the medium sized nations like Pakistan, the more you expose your vulnerabilities to the outside world, the more you expose your weaknesses and your deficiencies to the world. So Pakistan, we all knew that Pakistan is located geographically at a very crucial point on the map of the world. So there has always been enemies and foes of Pakistan who are always ready to take the advantage of Pakistan's weaknesses and deficiencies. So I have no confusion, and I have no no doubt in admitting that it is Pakistan's responsibility, that Pakistan needs to improve, and Pakistan needs to work seriously on those serious deficiencies in Pakistani political and economic system. And also, in addition to working on those problems, Pakistan at the same time also has to work on those, on its foreign policy, and also Pakistan has to reorient and reassess its policies, and especially the foreign policy. That what's really wrong with Pakistan's foreign policy? why Pakistan has been making this much of blunder in the past, that Pakistan's international image has been tarnished. We are today facing the present time of FATF. Our economy is not growing. I mean, what's really wrong? There is no industrial base in Pakistan. The unemployment rate has been increasing massively. I think we have reached to, I think, how much? 13%? 13% probably, I'm not sure, today, right? So what's really wrong with Pakistan's political and economic structure? Why we have not been, we have not been keeping a good pace with the modern world, the globalized world? Why we have not been focusing on geoeconomics? Why we have always been lost in other policies which proved not to be beneficial for Pakistan's future? So there are two things. There is geopolitics in FATF, yes. In 2018, Pakistan was made a sacrificial goat to fulfill the desires of United States. What desires? The geopolitical aims and the aspirations of US. US and Trump administration wanted to withdraw from Afghanistan peacefully and gracefully, and they have made Pakistan as a sacrificial goat. They lobbied in FATF against Pakistan. Pakistan was conveniently put into FATF grey list, and then Pakistan was manipulated for American interests. And Pakistan was pressurized that you have to help us get the deal done in Afghanistan with the Taliban, because the world believes and America believes, international community believes, that Pakistan exercises a great amount of influence on the Taliban. And there were two main stakeholders in the Afghan peace process as of today: the Afghan government and also the Taliban. And we all knew that Taliban basically controls the major chunk of Afghanistan, Afghan territory. And the world knows that it is Pakistan. If we squeeze Pakistan, or if we squeeze Pakistan, so Pakistan definitely will help get the deal done in US favor, and Pakistan was put into the grey list. But number two, it was not like Pakistan was victimized. No, Pakistan was not victimized. I mean, do not mistake it. There were serious problems in Pakistani system. The legal system, right? The economic system, the financial system, and the political system, and your foreign policy. There were serious systems. You all are the scholars. You all are the students of FIA. We all are the students of FIA. We all knew that what those problems basically have been in the past, and how Pakistan made those blunders. So there are two things. Yes, there are geopolitical ambitions. Now you will say, sir, this is a technical body. Then why geopolitics? It's not a political body, right? But in international relations, right? It is the powerful determines. It is the mighty determines who gets what, how, and why. There is a Thucydides axiom, right? There is an example in IR, and I'm sure that all of you must have heard about that in an anarchic system, right? The strong do what they must, and weak suffer what they can. The strong do, because we are living in an anarchic society. It's an anarchy. There is no global government to maintain the rule of law. So in this system, if you have to survive, you have to improve your system. You have to improve your powers. You have to improve your capabilities. There is a perpetual war in today's world. In a planet we live. They say the war against all. We are in a perpetual war, in a perpetual competition. Okay, if we are not in a perpetual war, then we are in a perpetual competition, with a constant competition in a globalized world. So the powerful do what they must, and weak suffer what they can. And I would like to end here by telling you that, of course, Pakistan was being put to satisfy the American demands and American aspirations in Afghanistan, right? But in international political system, the dynamics of political system, how it works, of course, theories are the guide. The international theories, realism, liberalism, and there are plethora and plenty of theories, right, out there to guide us. The students of fire, the scholars of fire, that how international system works. So it is the mighty who gets to determine. It is the mighty, it is the powerful who gets to determine who gets what, how, and when. So this brings us up to the end of my today's discussion. And now this session is open for question, if only if moderator allows.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your productive and a very constructive approach on this crucial topic. Now we will proceed towards question answer session, and we are running short of time, so we will only take 4 to 5 questions. So the first question is from Alisha Manzoor, and she is asking that if major powers are its members, then they might have influence over this task force. Then how it is not political body? Do major power control them geopolitically?
I already have answered. Yes, the answer is yes. The answer is yes. I mean, and I have explained it to you by putting a theoretical application of theories, right? That you are a student, scholars of fire, you are a student of fire, you are people of fire, right? So you know that how international system works. It is the power and the interest that decides the global political dynamics. So the answer is yes. But at the same time, do not mistake that Pakistan does not have any problems in its political and legal and economic system. Pakistan has a lot of problems. We have the bad history of doing the mistakes and repeating the mistakes, and we are still learning, not letting the history guide us. We are still not letting the history guide us from the past mistakes. Why? Okay, it's a global system. It's an international system. You are being observed. Your reputation is already tarnished. You are being considered as an irresponsible state. That your economy is completely destroyed. You are economically weak and still you are doing a mistake. If I'm vulnerable, I have a neighboring countries like India, who is very powerful economically and politically. I do not have a space to make mistakes. I have to be extra careful while making the policies. And still I'm rashly and recklessly and carelessly making policies make no sense. So geopolitics, yes, the global powers and the main powers, India is a member of FATF. You knew that India is not letting a single moment go away, when India is not involved in lobbying. And I tell you, India is very strong in lobbying. India has a very strong lobby at global level. And that's why, they have been doing their job. Why? Because you give them the job. You do not give them the job. You have created the job by getting into grey list. Why you are creating a job for India to do the rest of the work? So basically, when you create the job, when you create the opportunity, then definitely you will be punished. So you just first have to put your own house in order. If you really want to live in this world, a merciless and cutthroat world, then you have to be very careful and you have to pick a very smart choices, right? You do not have a gunjaish to make a mistake. You do not have space and margin. Pakistan does not have a margin of error. That's it.
Thank you, sir. The next question is that recently United Nations report on terrorism has also expressed concern on the presence of Daesh in Indian states of Kerala and Karnataka. Why FATF didn't take action on this issue?
Can you please come again, sir? Can you please come again?
Sir, the question is that recently United Nations report on terrorism has also expressed concern on the presence of Daesh in Indian states of Kerala and Karnataka. Why FATF didn't take any action on this issue?
Sahib, these are two things. I mean, well, if a terrorist organization or extremist organization is growing in any part of the world, and a state sponsoring any terrorist organization, these are two things, right? So there are no evidences. I'm not sure because I'm sorry, because people judge very quickly, right? Because here we live in a world. So I have not definitely Daesh has been taking roots in India and in so when India, there will be some evidences available to the FATF in which that Indian state is sponsoring the Daesh, then definitely they will do something. So these are two things. Hope I answered the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The next question is from Hamza Latif, and he's asking that isn't it another colonial tool like IMF to squeeze Pakistan politically, especially with regards to Kashmir? If yes, then why we are accepting it, though we are not directly bounded to follow FATF agenda?
Hamza, my question is to you, right? Because I have told you it's not everything I have to answer. I have to ask you a question, right? And I think I have the leverage to ask you because you are scholars here. So what chances do you have? How can you escape the prison of FATF, right? Just try to escape, try to run away. You will die out of hunger and starvation. Your country will be, there will be a situation, a war-like situation in your country. You cannot escape FATF. You have the choices. You are saying that, why are we following? You just try not to follow it, then see the consequences. And number one, I have answered the later part of your question. Now coming to the first, early. Now you are saying that FATF is trying to punish Pakistan by doing something. You just have explained that that doing something in Kashmir. I think again, I'll tell you, put hand on your heart and ask yourself that have you not made the mistakes in the past, the foreign policy mistakes, and do we have the margin of errors when you have an enemies sitting right on your head like India, right? And they are just finding your mistakes and errors by using the magnified glass so they can use a lobby against Pakistan. But you are giving them the open opportunities. Okay, come and hit on my face, punch here, punch here. I mean, you are giving them the open space, and they are hitting you like anything. I mean, it is you who has to be careful. It is you who has to put your own house in order. It is you who has to work on your vulnerabilities. It is not FATF. It is not FATF. Why Pakistan has accepted the plan of action? Because Pakistan has the problems. Pakistan has the strategic deficiencies in its political and economic system. That's why Pakistan accepted it. Why Pakistan has given the political commitment in return? Why Pakistan knew that we have made the blunders and we have the problems. That's why we have to give them the political commitment that in this given period of time we will achieve certain goals and we will give you the outcome and results, the positive results. So it's not things are not as simple as you think, right? Yeah.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Amjad Ali, and he is asking that can FATF take action against an individual within a country if he or she is involved in money laundering or terror financing?
The answer is no. The answer is no because it's an intergovernmental. It works government to government. I have used in the beginning of my this lecture. It's an intergovernmental body. It works government to government. Now, if it was possible, right? It is not like UN Security Council that UN Security Council will pass a resolution and it will add few Pakistani individual into their designated terrorist list. It does not work like that. FATF does not work like that. FATF works differently as compared to the UN Security Council, right? It cannot designate any individual as a terrorist entity or something, but it puts equal pressure on a country in which they see that particular individual they are targeting. So they will ask a particular country to target that particular individual who is involved in bad practices. So directly they do not have any mechanism, nor they have any power to target any individual by themselves. They will ask the particular country. I hope I answered the question. The next.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. The last question of the session is that FATF, and it's from Tanveer Abbas, and he's asking that FATF doesn't have any enforcement force, and it implement its policies through global economic bodies. Question is, all these global bodies are infested by major powers, specifically by USA, and the purpose of FATF is to protect the integrity of global economic system. So the global economic system is controlled or dominated by major powers. So do you think that this watchdog is ultimately serving the interest of major powers?
Again, Tanveer, I think the portion of the answer I already have answered, but definitely let me answer your question precisely one more time again. That it's not like only major powers, for example, the Western powers are right there and they are trying to take advantage of any country, right? That's true that the major powers will not let any single moment go away when they are not involved in taking the advantages of the vulnerabilities of weaker countries or smaller countries, right? As you have mentioned. But if the major powers, for example, the United States is trying to take the advantage of Pakistan's weaknesses, right, and keep putting Pakistan or keeping Pakistan in the grey list or blacklist, let's say, right? So there is Russia out there as well. Russia is a member of FATF. There is China out there. China is also a member of FATF. And China was the president in the last term as well. So there are other powers as well who will remind the America and the other major powers that the job of this body is to do a technical job. This is a technical body. Do not try to politicize this body. And this message was even conveyed to the United States in last October 2020 when US and India, they were actively trying to lobby against Pakistan to put Pakistan further into a blacklist. China categorically warned them that this body is a technical body. Do not try to politicize this body. Otherwise, if you keep doing this, then this body will lose the international integrity. So the international integrity is very important. So you are right. But you also at the same time need to understand if there is a one block of powers, there is, as now, because we live in a multipolar world, right? We live in a multipolar world, so there are also other independent powers as well. So if US are one power, or power B is keep trying to bash, name or shame any country with no reason, so of course the institution eventually will lose the integrity. You see why League of Nations failed. Why it failed? Why? Because it was failed to prevent the war, the Second World War. The purpose of the League of Nations was to ensure the peace, and they were failed to ensure the peace, and therefore League of Nations was replaced by United Nations in 1940s. Then if this body, which you have just mentioned, the body FATF, right? If it keep unfairly treating the countries unfairly, right? So it will eventually collapse. It will eventually collapse. So it's not like that, all the time the countries are basically, our major powers are basically, they can hold you forever for no reason. It's not like that. It's not like that. Yeah, I told you that, it's mighty who gets to determine who gets what, how, and when. But at the same time, there are other powers who can save your back, and I've given you the example of China as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we will wrap up our discussion today, and I would literally thank you, sir, for sparing your precious time for your students. It was literally a very insightful discussion from your side. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, you're always welcome. I mean, I just always try that, to make myself available for the young, dynamic, and passionate students who are always, I'm dead tired, and now, by the way, I have to cook. I have to cook now.
So
As
please
well.
order something. I suggest you to please order something.
Yeah. So, anyways, it was wonderful interacting with you guys, right? So, you all, God bless you all.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank
Have,
all
have a
the
nice evening
participants. You
and
can.
enjoy the weather. Enjoy the weather.
Thank you, sir.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz, sir.
God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Participants can leave the meeting. Thank you very much.